pose for thumbnail. Real quick before I start this video, I just want to explain this in case anyone notices it during the video. Basically, I got my ear pierced a few weeks ago, and last week when I woke up one day, the little ball stud on the earring had literally sunk into my ear. It was inside the lobe, and I was like, panic, panic, panic. Yeah, I went back to the piercing place and they took it out and they put in this little piece of nylon string stuff, which is just gonna stay there till the wound heals, so get used to it. It's probably gonna be there for a few months. Okay, let's get to the video. Before I get into talking about teaching, I just wanted to say that I have decided to recontract for a second year on the JET program. I was always pretty sure that's the decision I was going to make. I won't focus on it because it's a very simple decision. I just don't think a year is long enough to properly experience time in Japan. There's so much to do and see here, and a year flies by, and I've heard that all the JETs that leave after a year just tend to regret it. So I'll be staying for a second year. You can see my recontract form signed by me yesterday. I'm gonna hand it in today. Sorry UK friends, but rest assured I will be home eventually. Japan is not the place for me in the long term. So yeah, that means I'll be here until at least the summer of 2020. And then we'll take it from there. Who knows if I'll recontract for a third year or not. I really don't know. Okay, so I just want to preface this video by saying that I absolutely love my placement. My school is amazing, my teachers are great, my pupils are amazing as well. So anything I say here, nothing is meant against them, but just like any job or anything in life, there's positives and negatives, and I will talk about both. So also just to remind anyone that doesn't know me, I have absolutely zero teaching experience, or I had zero teaching experience before coming here. And actually the majority of JETs that I know don't have any teaching experience, so I think that's kind of more common. So the way I'm going to structure this video is I'm going to talk about three things. First I'm going to talk about my students and what they're like, kind of my expectations versus reality. Then I'm going to talk about actually teaching and that whole process, so lesson planning and being in the classroom, that sort of thing. And finally, I'm going to talk about my night school because it is so different. So I actually have two schools that I teach at. I come here to my main school from Monday to Thursday, 8:20 to 4:05, and on Fridays I go to a technical night school, which I'll talk more about later. I've got a lot to talk about, so I'm just going to get straight into it, try and go as quickly as I can. This will probably be the longest video I've done yet. We'll see. So yeah, my students. I adore my students, they're amazing. I teach at a senior high school and mostly first years, so sort of 15, 16-year-olds, each with a class of 20 students, and I teach one third year class, so they're 17, 18 years old, with a class, which is a class of 12 students. So my expectations were stupidly kind of based on a stereotype that they'd all be incredibly well, perfectly behaved, they'd study non-stop, they'd always be super engaged in everything I do, but no, that's not the case. And that's not to say they're bad students, they're not horribly behaved, but they're not perfectly behaved, how you would imagine from the stereotype. Each class, or the majority of classes, definitely has at least one or two really sort of rowdy kids that talk a lot, shout a lot, and generally misbehave a little bit. But what surprised me was that those kids, more often than not, turned out to be my favourite kids in each class. And I think that's just because they actually engage. The worst thing, which I did not expect, and what I truly hate, is what like 90% of the students do, which is I get nothing from them. I'll ask a very simple question, nothing. Put your hand up if you do not understand. It's very frustrating. I'll ask them, do you understand? I get nothing. Then I wonder, do you understand the question? Do you understand? Oh, it drives me insane. But, you know, it's not their fault. I think a lot of it is just due to the sort of general style of teaching in Japan as a whole. I think in the majority of their classes, it's just the teacher talking at the front and the kids working and taking notes or listening or whatever, but there's no sort of interaction or engagement during most of their classes. So they're just not used to it. They're probably a little bit scared of it, nervous of me because they probably don't know many, if any, foreigners. So I can understand the silence, but I just hate it. But I'm working on it and I can see them getting better. Sometimes I offer stickers for kids that volunteer and answer, and you'd be surprised how much of a motivator a shitty little sticker can be. But it is what it is. It doesn't work for everyone or all classes, but it works for some. Something else that surprised me was how low the level of English was, since it's a senior high school. Like, I can't really even have a conversation with any of the students, maybe a couple of my third years that are really engaged. But again, that's just something I had to adjust to. To offer some kind of comparison, one of my friends who works at one of the highest level senior high schools in the area, she's like getting their kids to read whole chapters of the Hunger Games, and then they're talking about themes and stuff like this. Whereas sometimes I'm in class and I'm just like, this is an ear, nose. And it's like, oh man, that's like, it's just so different, you know? But something you'll hear a lot on the JET program if you're involved in it or applying for it or anything at all is that every situation is different. And this is absolutely 100% true in every aspect of the program. Teaching is no exception. So yeah, it makes it difficult to build a relationship with the kids because I really can't get to know them very well. But I can see them improving and try more over the course of the term, so that's been really cool. I think another reason their English is so low as well is just the Japanese system of teaching English is really bad. It's real bad. It's not the fault of the teachers, it's not the fault of the school or even the Board of Education for this area. It's just the system. It's real bad. I'm not gonna rant about it really because my friend Courtney made a video on this recently, so I'll link it below. So if you're interested in to hear more about that, you can watch that. So I'm not just going to repeat everything she said because she summed it up really well. But basically, there's no priority or focus on speaking whatsoever. It's all just memorize all these words, parrot memorize everything. Lots of just writing, no actual speaking. So when it comes to it and I ask the kids a question, forming a sentence in their brain on the spot, no, they ain't gonna do that. And fair enough, like it's not their fault, it's just the way they've been taught. So yeah, there's a lot of issues there, and if you're interested in that, I highly recommend you watch that video. But after this one, I got more to say. So moving on, although I've kind of dipped into it a bit now, actually teaching. So at my main school, I am completely responsible for my lessons. I plan them, I basically teach the whole thing. The JTE is just there to assist if I need them. I know there's a variety of ways that ALTs are used, so I know that some, for example, are used in a sort of tape recorder way, where they just stand quietly and occasionally read some dialogue in English for the teacher, and generally that kind of sucks, so I've been really lucky in that sense. But something that I really struggled with a lot in the beginning was the lack of sort of guidance or expectation, just kind of do whatever you want. But like, I've never taught before, I have no experience making lessons, I have no idea what the kids know, I don't know what topics they've covered, what they do in their main English grammar classes, what their level is. I knew literally nothing, and it's just kind of like, okay, make lessons, go. Like, I don't know. So at the beginning I was doing one topic a week, and I really struggled to think of all these really useful practical topics like directions and stuff like that. But eventually I kind of just realised, you know what, the topics are relevant, the goal of my lessons is just to get them speaking. That's the only, like, that's really the most important thing. So that's when I started to do more fun topics like superheroes and stuff like that. Just anything that would get them talking or a little bit more excited. Although I will say that definitely the response to my lessons was very mixed, so in terms of difficulty and also in terms of enjoyability, sometimes I'd be like, oh, this is a hard lesson, but then I'd teach it and I'd have so much spare time at the end because they basically knew it all, and I was like, oh, I don't know what to do now for this last 10 minutes. Also, on the other end of the scale, sometimes I'd be like, oh, this is a fun lesson, we'll do this and this and this and then this, and then the second activity and time's almost running out and I'm just like, how are you not getting it? Oh. So it's been interesting, but I'm kind of getting more of a grasp of their level now, which is good. I'm definitely getting better at coming up with lesson plans and teaching. And also in the first term, it was very much week by week scrambling to finish a lesson plan for the next week. Whereas now it's winter break and I have more time to just sort of sit back and relax and reflect a bit, and I can sort of plan ahead more, plan for the overall term, sort of long game kind of goals, rather than just week by week something completely different that probably goes in one ear and out the other, you know? So I'm really going to try and improve next term a lot. When it comes down to actually physically teaching the lessons, the one thing I struggle with the most is discipline, because, well, first of all, I'm not responsible for discipline. It should be the JTE that deals with that. It's just it works so differently here. So for example, in the UK, if a kid's misbehaving, the teacher is very likely just going to be like, go stand outside, just get out. But you are absolutely not allowed to do that here. Like, you would never send a kid out of the classroom. And I've definitely noticed that the different JTEs have different styles of keeping their kids in line, and some classes definitely respond more than others. But there's just some kids in some classes that are so rowdy, but not in the fun, engaging way. They're just distracting, and the whole class gets distracted. I get distracted, I can't focus, no one can focus, they're so loud, I can't even hear myself think. I don't really know what to do either. I'm not a shouty teacher. I'm never going to be a teacher that shouts. It's just not in me. I physically can't do it. So I really need to work out better ways of dealing with that. So that's going to be one of my bigger goals for next term as well. Try out different ways to get the kids' attention and stop them mucking around or whatever. But we'll see how that goes. I'll update you after next term. But no, overall, as a whole, it's been great, because I really do enjoy a challenge, and this has been a big one. So just like noticing myself improve and having so many ideas for how I can improve further, that's really exciting for me. So yeah, hopefully I'll just keep getting better. Okay, moving on. So, night school. This is a whole other world. So I go to night school on Fridays from 1:30 PM to 9 PM, and I have 3 classes of third year students, and I teach those classes sort of between 6 PM and 8:30-ish. I said that I had some rowdy kids at my main school, but they are nothing compared to the kids at this school. Like, the first time I walked into a class there, one of the kids was like jumping up and down on a chair. They were all running around and like shouting, and they're all like 17, 18, so they're older. They're definitely more mature than the kids here in some ways, definitely more immature in others. And honestly, I was genuinely a little bit scared by them in the first week or two. Like, they are quite rough on some of them. Like, I wouldn't want to come across them in a dark alleyway at night when I'm alone, kind of vibes. But again, it's just something I had to get used to, because I really didn't expect that at all. And like, that school is also way less strict, so there's no uniform. A bunch of them have like dyed hair and piercings. Sometimes they'll like take their phone out in class, and the JT will just be like, come on, put it away, which is fine. But here at my main school, if a student took their phone out in class, like, I don't even want to know what would happen to them. They'd be in so much trouble. Like, my god. I do really enjoy those classes now as well. It adds some much needed variety to my week, which is cool. But also, I said that my main school had a pretty low level English. Again, this is nothing compared to my night school, where their English is basically non-existent. I'm more of the tape recorder style ALT at that school, which is fine by me. I'm only there once a week anyway. But yeah, the whole class is basically ran in Japanese, because they don't speak English, basically. And occasionally I'll run some dialogue with them, or they'll be asked to repeat something or try and memorize something, and maybe 1 or 2 of them will actually engage in the class or do the work. Most of them just sleep on their desks, not gonna lie. This is also very frustrating. That's something I forgot to mention earlier, actually. Kids literally sleep on their desks, and I knew to expect this, but it happens a lot more than I thought. And some JTEs will just let it slide, others will give the kids a nudge and really make them wake up. That was definitely interesting for sure. And it really like pisses me off, because when I do pair work and I see one of the partners is asleep, it's like, they've not been listening, they don't know what to do, god damn it. Anyway, back to night school. But like, the reason their level is so low, it's really not their fault. They just literally have zero motivation, and I'll explain why. So the night school I work at is a technical night school, and a technical school is like all the kids there are working towards going into a certain field of work. And in comparison, my main school is more general, sort of academic school, which covers all of the normal subjects, but a technical school is very focused on specific kinds of subjects. But English is still a requirement. But then these kids are never going to use English. They know they're not. They're going to go out of school and they're going to go into this kind of work in Japan, and they're going to stay in Japan. They're unlikely to come across many English speakers, and so they're very unlikely to ever go abroad. So it's like, why would they learn? I hated learning languages when I was in school. I can imagine, like, I would have no motivation in their position. So I don't blame them at all. And that's really what the main goal is. And teaching those classes, it's to really try and give them motivation just to like actually pay attention in class. It's really hard, but it is definitely a different challenge altogether, and one that I need to improve on more. But anyway, like, as I said, the behaviour is certainly worse, but I've gotten used to it. I know what they're about now, and they are good kids. They just don't care about English, which is fair. So to compare the two schools together, for example, in my introduction lesson, I gave all the kids an opportunity to ask me any questions they had about me or Scotland, and a very common question I got is, do you have a girlfriend? And to avoid answering this at my main school, I'd always say like, oh, shh, it's a secret. And you know, the kids would giggle and they'd find it funny or cute or whatever. But at my night school, I wasn't expecting to be asked that because they're a bit older and they are sort of, yeah, I just didn't expect that, to get that from them. And one kid did ask me and I panicked because I didn't know what to say, so I just went with the same like shh response. And literally the student was just like, and I was like, okay, moving on. Oh. Oh, it was awkward. Anyway, so yeah, it's just a whole other world. But it is, like I said, it's fun. It's some extreme variety at the end of the week. And it means I get to sleep in an extra day, which is nice. Although I do wish it wasn't a Friday, because a lot of ALTs go out on Friday, and then I'm just like, I'm not gonna get home till 10, like really CBA going anywhere after that. But whatever, it's not bad. So I'll finish the video by saying my favourite and least favourite thing about teaching here in Japan on the JET program. And the worst thing is something that you'll hear a lot from ALTs, and that is desk warming. So for example, I'm in winter break now, which means I don't have classes. Today's the 12th of December, but I've not had classes for like a week now, and I'm not gonna have classes again until for about another month. But I still have to come in every day and sit at my desk from 8:20 to 4:05, and I ain't got nothing to do. Even on Christmas Day, if I didn't take it as a holiday, I would have to come in on Christmas Day and sit and do nothing all day. And it's just how the system works here. Anyway, moving on, my favourite thing about teaching here is just genuine interaction with Japanese people and Japanese culture. It's rare, but whenever a student does genuinely try and communicate with me, like stops in the corridor and tries to talk to me, and I can see them really getting excited to try and use English, like, that is such a cool feeling. Like, it's just like, oh, I'm making them excited, and that is just really nice. And then also my relationship with my colleagues, so my teachers here are all so friendly and lovely, and it is really nice to have Japanese people to get to know a little bit. We just had our Bonenkai last week, which is the end of year party, and you know, once the alcohol gets flowing, a lot of the non-English teachers feel much more sort of brave and confident enough to try and speak to me using the few English words they know. So that was cool. And then I went to the Nijikai, which is the after party, with a bunch of them, even though only one of them actually spoke English, and that was a lot of fun. So yeah. Whew. Wow, that was a long video. Man, this is going to be so boring to edit, but there we go. I hope you enjoyed it or found it useful or something. And if you did, then go ahead and subscribe. Why not, eh? Cheeky wee subscribe. But yeah, I'm probably going to post some more videos about my experience on JET and teaching and that kind of thing. I think in a few weeks I'm gonna post a video about my advice for the interview stage of applying to the JET program, so stay tuned for that. Okay, anyway, I'm gonna go now, because I'm just rambling, this video's long enough. Yeah, okay, bye.